Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. And if you're a true General Hospital fan, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started with today's video. According to General Hospital, GH, teasers, Nathan Dean has completed his tenure as Ethan Lovett and will leave the program. Dean was recently removed from the contract portion of the closing credits, but now it is confirmed that he has been replaced by Christian Howard as an Ethan recast. Christian Howard has officially taken up the role of Ethan Lovett, as announced in the July 27th episode of General Hospital. However, based on impending spoilers, Ethan's departure from Port Charles is inevitable. Summer peak information suggests that Ethan is set to flee as his past catches up with him. Ethan will go on the run, which appears to be related to the July 30th debut of a new character named Hudson, Troy Lennon Appel. On July 31st, Ethan will break some big news to Lulu Spencer, Alexa Havens-Bruning, which could include telling her that he's leaving soon. Lulu would undoubtedly probe Ethan and assume that he is in trouble, but Ethan may try to avoid her queries as much as possible. This casting comes at an odd time, as Ethan's arc appears to be nearing its conclusion. Perhaps there was a scheduling conflict that stopped Nathan Dean from finishing everything that needed to be filmed. Of course, it's possible that the show realizes they'll still need Ethan for the next chapter of this plot, sooner or later. Maybe Ethan won't be on the run for long, which might lead to Howard returning for some major revelations, such as the identity of Phoebe's, Luna and Lucia Creighton, biological father. Whatever the case, there is a new Ethan on screen at this moment, and fans are already reacting to the unexpected recasting. Howard stepping into Dean's role and taking the character in a new direction has caused quite a stir on social media. What are your opinions on Christian Howard replacing Nathan Dean as Ethan Lovett? Do you agree with this recast, or do you believe it is incorrect? According to General Hospital spoilers, more casting surprises may be on the way, so keep an eye out. General Hospital viewers turning in on Monday, July 27, 2026, were treated to a surprise change in one of Port Charles's long-running characters when a new face arrived in the role of Ethan Lovett. A short audio message reminded audiences that Christian Howard had taken over the role, ending Nathan Dean's brief but exciting return that began only 3 months ago. The shift occurred without fanfare or on-screen explanation, effortlessly continuing the character's plot while leaving fans to comprehend the sudden recasting of a role defined by a single principal actor for nearly 20 years. Nathan Dean, formerly Nathan Parsons, first played Ethan Lovett in January 2009. At the time, the figure arrived in Port Charles as a charming Australian con guy with a gift for reading people and a tendency for getting himself into difficult circumstances. The episode quickly revealed Ethan's true parentage. He was the hidden son of Luke Spencer and Holly Sutton, conceived during an affair when Luke was married to Laura. That revelation inserted him into the extensive Spencer family tree as Lucky and Lulu Spencer's half-brother. Dean portrayed the role until 2012, then returned for brief stints in 2013, 2015, and 2020. In 2023, James Ryan briefly filled the role for a 2-episode run starring Holly and Tracy Quartermaine. Dean's most recent visit, which began on April 17, 2026, was billed as more substantial than prior guest appearances, albeit the actor himself had been explicit from the start about its short duration. In interviews conducted around the time of his return, Dean revealed that the passing of Anthony Geary, the renowned actor who played Luke Spencer, inspired him to return. Geary's death in December 2025 inspired Dean to contemplate reprising the role as a means to pay tribute to the man who had been his on-screen father and a big influence during his early years on the program. When executive producer Frank Valentini and casting director Mark Teschner called out, the timing was perfect. The producers had hoped for a multi-year commitment, but Dean, who now lives outside Austin with his wife, was hesitant to relocate permanently. He reached a 4-month agreement, during which both parties would reassess. The window closed in mid-July. Dean's final appearance as Ethan aired on July 17th, and the following week, his name was removed from the closing credits, indicating that his contract status had changed. On July 27th, Christian Howard assumed the post. Howard's premiere scenes took place at the Metro Court Pool, alongside Maura West's Ava Jerome. The two characters maintain the complex, flirty interaction that had emerged during Dean's tenure. Ethan probed Ava on her previous conversation with Brooklyn Quartermain, hoping for comfort that she would not divulge the truth about baby Phoebe's parentage. Ava, true to style, kept him guessing while emphasizing that she had no intention of interrupting Brooklyn and Harrison Chase's adoption plans. The encounter demonstrated that the recasting was not intended to kill the character. Rather, the drama would continue with a new actor at its heart. Christian Howard brings a very different background to the part. Born on May 4, 1984, in Sunderland, England, he started training in martial arts at the age of 13, learning kung fu, karate, taekwondo, and capoeira. Inspired by Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude Van Damme, he developed a physical skill set that led to work as a stunt performer, fight choreographer, and actor. He worked as Van Damme's stunt double in the 2012 film Alien Uprising and has credits in a variety of action films. His most well-known work is his depiction of Ken Masters in the live-action Street Fighter productions, which began with the short film Street Fighter Legacy and continued through the web series Street Fighter Assassin's Fist and its sequel Street Fighter Resurrection. In such projects, he not only performed, but also participated to scripting and creative creation, performing many of his own stunts using his martial arts expertise. Daytime television is new territory for Howard, and his introduction brings a British-born actor into a character who was previously distinguished by an Australian accent and a more typical soap opera leading man demeanor. The recasting occurs at a very thick point in Ethan's storyline. When the character returned to Port Charles in April, he instantly became involved in the mystery of Delilah Wilson, a young lady who died after giving birth to a daughter called Phoebe. Ethan initially claimed to be the baby's father, complicating Brooklyn and Chase's adoption procedures when they took the infant in as foster parents. Over the next few weeks, the story pulled back layers of that statement. Ethan claimed to Alexis Davis that he and Delilah had a relationship, but subsequently told Ava that he was not biologically connected to Phoebe. He went to great efforts to keep the secret, including stealing DNA evidence from the Port Charles Police Department and swapping samples to ensure that official tests supported the adoption. The exact identity of Phoebe's father is unknown, and Ethan's drive to keep the child's past hidden has led him deeper into perilous relationships and personal hazards. One of the hazards was a hostage incident at Ava's gallery with Jen Sidwell. Ethan placed himself in front of a bullet to defend Ava, injuring himself and strengthening their uneasy bond. Their subsequent interactions are a mix of flirting, mutual skepticism, and reluctant trust. Ava is aware of Ethan's deceptions, and he has frequently sought her silence, creating a tension that the program is keen to investigate more. With Howard in the part, those sequences continue uninterrupted, implying that the production sees Ethan as a figure with long-term narrative worth rather than a transitory visitor whose tale can be simply completed. Recasting has long been a staple of daytime drama. Characters can last decades, as actors' availability, personal circumstances, and career goals change. General Hospital has seen numerous high-profile replacements throughout the years, some of which proved as decisive as the initial casting. In Ethan's instance, the quick transition, announced mid-scene via voiceover, reflects the practical reality of soap production, where filming schedules rarely allow for extended absences or gradual handovers. Dean's previous comments about family duties and his wish to stay in Texas made a permanent homecoming doubtful. By recasting rather than writing the character out, the program preserves Phoebe's ongoing mysteries as well as the possibility of continued connection with Ava, Lulu, and other long-term Port Charles inhabitants. Howard's size and action experience may bring him fresh storytelling possibilities. Ethan has always been presented as savvy and capable of managing himself in confrontations, but the new actor's martial arts background may allow the writers to rely more heavily on physical sequences or stunt-driven moments if the plot necessitates it. At the same time, the absence of Dean's Australian accent in the role is a noteworthy departure for longtime viewers. Early reactions on social media reflected the typical mix of surprise, disappointment, and cautious hope that comes with any major casting change. Some lamented Dean's brief comeback, while others focused on the character's future and the remaining concerns surrounding Phoebe's origins. The greater background of Ethan's history lends weight to the recast. As the son of Luke and Holly, he takes on the tradition of two of General Hospital's most legendary characters. Luke's death, both on-screen and in real life with Geary's passing, created a hole that Ethan's presence somewhat fills. His relationships with Lulu, Tracy, and the larger Spencer and Quartermaine circles continue to provide emotional support. The present storyline, which revolves around rescuing a vulnerable youngster from an unknown threat while balancing personal attraction and moral compromise, keeps the character active and relevant. It is unclear whether Howard's stint will endure months or years, but his introduction without designating the casting transitory suggests that Ethan will remain on the canvas for the foreseeable future. Soap operas thrive on both continuity and surprise in equal measure. The sudden arrival of a new Ethan Lovett tests the audience's allegiance to the familiar while also giving the prospect of a new interpretation. Christian Howard takes on a part with over 15 years of history, a complex family tree, and an ongoing mystery that shows no signs of closure. Nathan Dean's 4-month return served as a bridge between the character's history and present, reintroducing Ethan to a Port Charles that had altered drastically since his previous extended stay. The baton has been passed. Howard's interpretation of the charming con guy with a conscience, as well as the writer's further weaving of him into the lives of Ava, Brooklyn, Chase, and the rest of the community, will determine whether this latest chapter feels like a natural evolution or a jarring interruption. For the time being, the story merely moves forward, one scene at a time, with a new face and a new set of possibilities. General Hospital has once again demonstrated that change is the only constant in Port Charles. On the July 27, 2026 episode, viewers looking for the newest developments were met with a sudden and unexpected change in one of the show's returning characters. Christian Howard has taken on the role of Ethan Lovett, which was formerly played by Nathan Dean. The transition was recognized by a simple on-screen announcement during Howard's first scenes. The role of Ethan Lovett is now being played by Christian Howard. There was no extensive explanation, no gradual handoff, and no temporary fill-in designation. The change occurred naturally, and the story continued uninterrupted. This development comes only a few months after Dean made a welcome return to the canvas. Dean, originally known as Nathan Parsons, first as Ethan Lovett in January 2009. At the time, the figure arrived in Port Charles as a charming Australian con guy with a skill for reading people and a tendency for getting into tricky situations. It didn't take long for the truth about his parents to surface. Ethan was revealed to be the hidden son of Luke Spencer and Holly Sutton, conceived during an affair while Luke was married to Laura. That discovery immediately tied him to one of the show's key families, laying the groundwork for years of tangled connections, love entanglements, and perilous alliances. Dean's initial run lasted till 2012. During those years, Ethan fell in love with Christina Corinthos Davis, became entangled in the criminal underground, and learned how to navigate the complex dynamics of Spencerhood. Following his departure, he made multiple short-term returns. In 2013, he appeared for the show's 50th anniversary celebration. Brief trips occurred in 2015 and again in 2020, when he saw Olivia Falconeri and Robert Scorpio in Monte Carlo while looking for information about Holly. In 2023, James Ryan temporarily assumed the part for 2 episodes, during which Ethan was kept captive by Victor Cassadine before being rescued by Holly and Felicia. Dean's most recent comeback occurred on April 17, 2026. The actor had begun to consider returning following the death of Anthony Geary, who played his on-screen father Luke. When executive producer Frank Valentini and casting director Mark Teschner contacted us, the moment felt right. In interviews at the time, Dean indicated that the producers had hoped for a 2- or 3-year commitment. His personal life, which included commitments to his wife and family, made this difficult. They reached an arrangement for 4 months, with the understanding that they would evaluate how things went after that. Dean expressed excitement about exploring a more edgy version of the character, implying that Ethan's reasons for returning extended beyond just reconnecting with family and friends. The 2026 plot swiftly established Ethan's relationship with the late Delilah Wilson, a young lady who died after giving birth to a daughter called Phoebe. Ethan first claimed to be the baby's father, but subsequently admitted to Ava Jerome that he was not biologically related to the child. As Brooke Lynn and Chase pursued their adoption plans, the mystery of Phoebe's true parentage remained unresolved. Meanwhile, Ethan was lured into the orbit of Ava Jerome. Their scenes had a volatile chemistry that included romance, antagonism, and shared secrets. Ethan had been shot during a conflict with Jen Sidwell, which strengthened his bond with Ava. By the middle of July, the coupling appeared to be gaining traction. Then, almost as swiftly as it started, Dean's latest story ended. His final appearance occurred on July 17th. By the July 24th broadcast, his name had vanished from the end credits, which did not go unnoticed by loyal viewers. Christian Howard took over the post the following Monday with little hoopla other than the voiceover announcement. The scenes with Ava at the Metro Court pool added to the current stories, maintaining the tension and secrets around Phoebe. Christian Howard is a relative newbie to daytime soap operas, yet he offers a significant body of work and specific expertise. Howard was born on May 4, 1984, in Sunderland, near Newcastle, United Kingdom, and began martial arts training at the age of 13. His training has included kung fu, karate, taekwondo, and capoeira. He credits Bruce Lee and Jean-Claude Van Damme as early influences. His physical background led him to stunt work and combat choreography in addition to acting. He was a stunt double for Van Damme in the 2012 film Alien Uprising and has worked as a fight choreographer on several films. Howard's most well-known role is Ken Masters in the live-action Street Fighter series. He initially played the character in the 2010 short film Street Fighter Legacy, which he co-wrote with filmmaker Joey Ansa. The short's success spawned the 2014 online series Street Fighter Assassin's Fist and the 2016 sequel Street Fighter Resurrection. Howard not only played the flamboyant fighter in these films, but he also did his own stunts and helped with the screenplay and artistic directing. His other credits include appearances in films and television projects such as Green Street 3, Never Back Down, where he played Wedge and helped with fight choreography, as well as other independent films and short films. The writer's decision to recast Ethan rather than write him out of the plot implies that they believe the character has future promise. The unresolved issues with Delilah and Phoebe, Ethan's relationship with Ava, and Ethan's position within the Spencer family and the larger Port Charles power dynamics all remain active. Keeping the character on the canvas permits those strands to continue uninterrupted, as opposed to a full exit. At the same time, the abruptness of the transition has left some viewers adjusting to a new face and voice in a character long identified with Dean's unique blend of charm, comedy, and underlying edge. Howard does not appear to be preserving the Australian accent that distinguished Ethan in previous representations, which indicates a significant departure from the previous interpretation. Soap operas have a long history of successful recasting. Carly Corinthos, Jason Morgan, and many other characters have been played by numerous actors throughout the years, with some undergoing dramatic characterization changes that became definitive for new generations of fans. It remains to be seen if Howard's portrayal of Ethan will follow that trend, but the production's decision to move forward with him demonstrates trust in both the actor and the stories that remain to be told. Dean's contributions to the role throughout the years should not be underestimated. Dean helped establish Ethan as a complex figure capable of both lighthearted mischief and darker choices, from the early days when Ethan first stumbled into Port Charles and gradually claimed his place as Luke and Holly's son, to the romantic and dangerous storylines of his contract run, and into the intermittent returns that kept the character alive in the audience's memory. His 2026 return, driven in part by reverence for Anthony Geary's legacy, struck an emotional chord with many long-standing admirers. The 4-month commitment he made enabled the show to reintroduce the character, sow new story seeds, and then seamlessly segue into the next phase. Howard views the opportunity as a huge step into the hard realm of daytime television. Soap operas demand actors to film quickly, deliver emotionally charged material on short notice, and maintain continuity over dozens of episodes. His experience in physically demanding parts and collaborative creative work may benefit him in an environment where characters routinely face life-or-death circumstances and complicated romantic entanglements. Early moments with Maura West's Ava have already landed him in the middle of one of the most interesting partnerships on the screen. Looking ahead, various storylines remain open. Brooke Lynn and Chase's adoption preparations remain dogged by the mystery of Phoebe's father's genuine identity. Ethan's assertion that the biological father is dangerous and that the secret must be kept hints that additional revelations are conceivable. His connection with Ava, which is already defined by shared secrets and mutual passion, could blossom into a more central romance or crumble under the weight of those same secrets. Connections to the Spencer family, including half-siblings Lulu and Lucky, as well as the late Luke's convoluted legacy, provide further dramatic opportunities. Ethan's history with Port Charles's criminal elements, which includes previous engagement with Sonny Corinthos and disputes with figures such as Jen Sidwell, creates fertile ground for conflict and moral ambiguity. The audience's reaction to the recast was varied, as is customary when a familiar face is changed. Some fans were disappointed by the end of Dean's latest stint, especially given the good connection he had begun to form with Ava. Others have chosen a wait-and-see approach, pointing out that the character's story is plainly incomplete and that a new actor may add new energy. Soap opera history demonstrates that audience connection frequently transfers over time when the composition and performance facilitate the move.